Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock, and we are live. Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock, and we are live. Welcome to V Talks. I'm your host, Veronica Brockwell. Well, every October, I like to have on a spooky guest. I think last year we had on Tim Weisberg, the ghost hunter. And this year, I thought it might be fun to bring on my very good friend, psychic medium, live from Thailand, Rhys Wynn Davies. Hello, Rhys.
Hi, V. How are you? Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm great. It's great. I'm great to be here. Very happy.
So we had a little mishap right before we hopped on.
Yeah.
Because you're in Thailand.
That's correct, although you couldn't tell.
You look like you're at the Holiday Inn. I was like, did you miss your flight?
It's just at 6 a.m. here in Thailand, and outside there's a monsoonal rain event happening, and lots of local flooding. So I have to be inside so that you can hear my voice because it's raining so hard outside. So here we are.
And we have big plans.
We did. I wanted palm trees and a nice beach scene.
I love the beige curtain.
It's just a little cyclonic outside at the moment.
I know. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on. It is, as you said, 6 a.m. in Thailand, and it is 7. It's Wednesday, right?
That's right.
It's still Tuesday here. And isn't technology amazing that we can connect in this way?
Yeah, it sure is. It's wonderful. That's incredible.
So, Rhys, for those in our audience who don't know who you are, can you just give me a little bit of information on your journey into becoming a psychic medium?
Well, the short story, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's a long story, but we can do a little story.
So yeah, well, basically, I was a scientist for 20 years, environmental scientist, and I just started maybe once a year seeing a clairvoyant to get guidance. I had a well-established business and people that worked for me, and I just needed some direction sometimes. So I went to see a psychic medium, and in the end, one of them told me that I had the potential, and I walked away thinking, what if? And then in the short story, as I had a contact from a grandmother who passed, and she came to me in my mind. It was through a meditation. I could see her in my mind. So in my third eye, I could see visions of her, and I could hear her voice. And she told me to go to a school that was in England. And at the time, she wasn't alive when Google was around. So I went and Googled the school because I could hear it clearly in my mind. And I basically Googled it, and it was true. This place existed. It was called the Arthur Findlay College, and so basically I lied to my family at the time. Got on a plane. I said I was going to do horticulture.
Yeah, right. What would you say, actually? Let's just say you were going to tell them the truth.
Yeah, I'm going to go to a metaphysical school that's been around for 200 years, where they teach you how to talk to the dead.
Yeah.
And it's like Harry Potter.
Okay, Rhys.
It's like Harry Potter school.
Yeah, right. I know.
Psychic. And so I got on a plane and went, and so I didn't know you could actually learn to learn how to do this. And not only did I learn how to do it, I actually met my fiance the week I went there. So my grandmother in spirit was also setting me up. So for love. So it just changed my life, and it was an amazing place. Highly recommend anyone to go and visit if you're ever in the UK. Their courses run for about a week, and there's about 100+ people that can attend at one time, and you make a lot of friends and people all around the world. And yeah, I didn't realize I could learn this, and I decided, well, for me, it was a game changer. I'm going to learn how to do this better and do more of it. And I went back a few times and established myself as a medium and left my 20-year profession as an environmental scientist. And here I am today, changed my life. I've got two beautiful girls now with my fiance as well. So it was a game changer.
Right. In all aspects of your life, truly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
fantastic. I'm so glad I listened. And it wasn't as if it was a voice outside of my mind. It was a voice in my mind, when
Mhm.
I heard her speak. And that's that clairaudient ability, which is often misunderstood. It's the voice you hear in your mind. I'm just glad I listened. Changed my life
Yeah.
forever.
And we'll go over that later. We're gonna go all over all the different ways you can communicate with spirit. Um, so for those who are confused by the different terminology, what is a psychic?
Yeah, so it has different meanings, There's psyche, which is about telepathy and psychology. But I guess there is some aspect of telepathy that takes place. Dictionaries define psychic as things that happen that are supernatural, that are out of the normal laws of operation and natural law. Um, I think it's got something to do with telepathy, like I said, but it also includes the auric field. So when you're in the aura of a person, you can just know things. You might be interested in this. There's a fabulous pioneer. He was an American by the name of Edgar Casey. I
Mhm.
love his work because he's one of the most documented pioneers of our time. There's about 14,000 documented sittings that he did with people, where he basically said, sometimes I didn't get influence of spirits communicating through me. Sometimes my own spirit just knew.
Mhm.
And a lot of scientists today, particularly physicists who are into remote viewing and ESP, for example, the scientific community call it, as Edgar Casey does, focused attention awareness. There's something that happens when we're in the company of another person, particularly if we want to help them. Something happens, and Edgar Casey was famous for this by basically saying, with focused attention awareness, we can just know things about anyone or anything when we're in the company of people. And we shift our focus from our personality self, so our everyday thinking, to how can I be of service and help this person. And when we do that in the company of others, we can just start to know things. Now, you know, some people are more advanced than others because of their upbringing, or they might meditate, or they might be mindful, or you know, they might be sensitive. Um,
Mhm.
and so some people advance and have this ability more than others. But as a general rule, Veronica, we basically are all psychic. We need to be to survive. A knowingness, a feeling, a sensing of
Mhm.
danger, or what we eat or put in our body. How we trust people, who we let in as friends, our own psyche will do that. I guess you could also say it includes the use of three clairs, which is generally the ability to see clairvoyant, the ability to feel clairsentient, and the ability to hear. You know, um,
Well, I have horses and they're nonverbal communicators. And I think it's similar to that,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely,
Animals, they communicate just by their senses. Have you ever seen a herd of horses just gallop off all of a sudden because one of them said run, but you didn't say anything?
yeah,
They just know, right?
that's true. Yeah, that's it.
So that's
Yeah.
that's how they communicate all the time. Is it so it's like that?
Yeah, it involves telepathy to some level. Generally,
Mhm.
with those three clairs, that's the typical aspect.
Mhm.
And it's a sense, a knowing, a feeling,
Mhm.
and we all have this to various degrees, and we need to operate. And
Yeah.
some are more advanced than others based on their sensitivity or not, and their empathy to their environment and their surrounds. So, yeah.
All right. So you are psychic.
Yeah.
All right. And then what is a medium?
Yeah, so everyone's psychic to some level, right? So everyone has that
Mhm.
psychic ability, but then a medium is basically an in-between person. A lot of people don't actually know that there's two types of mediumship. There's mental mediumship and there's physical mediumship. So mental mediumship is the use of the mind, the medium's mind, and the medium is basically the go-between. That's why we're called mediums. We're the middle person between a communicator who's died, a spirit person, speaking on behalf of them to someone else who's alive. And so we're the go between, and it's generally through the mind. Yeah. The physical phenomena has got a lot to do with apparitions and knocking and tapping and rappings and communication that happens outside of the physical body, and that's physical phenomena. So if we go back to mental mediumship is with perception, and there's two types of mental mediumship, which most people don't understand as well. There's two types. There's the ability to perceive a spirit person in the mind, so it's all telepathic, and then and then there's a control class where the spirit can come a little bit closer and influence people to draw, for example, or to write. There's some mediums who can, channel a book. They might come up with ideas and paint. There's mediums who do paintings and spirit artists, and that's something that I've only started developing in recent times. Where I'm able to draw a person, which is incredible, really, because there's actually two types of mediumship taking place. So in my mind, if I'm talking about someone, they're, influencing my mind with perception class. So I'm speaking on behalf of a spirit person. And then the control class is they're making my hand draw a person at the same time, right?
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So isn't that amazing? Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? So a
It
medium, yeah. So a medium. Sorry to cut you off. A medium is basically a person that can channel a spirit person, and that also involves those clairs, predominantly those three clairs, up to five, five clair senses. What do I know? Hear, see, smell, taste, feel. Yeah.
so in your opinion, because there are a lot of opinions out there, but in your opinion, what happens to us when we leave this earth?
Great question. I don't have all the answers, but I like Michael Newton's theories. He's a great author. I highly recommend his book to people, The Journey of Souls and the Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton. He what I love about his work is he regressed about 6,500 people, or did discussions and topics about them. He didn't actually say he was going to write a book, so he didn't get any biased opinions. And in that book, he talks about what happens to us when we die, and I think it's a great, from the physical point of view, I think it's a great interpretation of what might happen to us, and it might give people a lot of comfort in the ideas of what happens to us when we die. But in my own opinion, I believe maybe it's a little bit like the dream state, like the death state. I believe it's like a permanent dream. We can go anywhere through matter, and go anywhere in the universe as an astral planing body. The astral planing body is gas, vapor, atoms, molecules, particles, atoms. It's one dimensional, and we can go through matter and go anywhere in the universe. So we're not tied to just the Earth realm. We can go through, into space. There's no time or space in that location. And the astral planing body becomes 100% telepathic, and communicates through thought. So thought is superior to language in the spirit world. They don't try and talk like we do. It's all mind to mind and telepathic, which I think is amazing. I guess it comes down to how intelligent is that. I can have someone from Japan or someone from Albania or Lebanon who might never have spoken English, but when they communicate through my mind, it's all telepathically made in English so that I can understand it and speak on their behalf and talk about their emotions and feelings to another person. So some of my recipients go, "Wow, they never spoke English. How do you do this?" But I receive it as English, no matter what language. So that's the 100% intelligence of and their capability. And so it's all thought, it's all superior to language. And they're able to influence our voice box, which I think is fascinating. You know, they're able to influence our voice box, right? So the sound of their voice echoes in our mind, and I just speak of what I hear. I just verbally rebate back what I hear in my own mind as their voice. Um, I guess the question here is if, have you ever heard someone who's died in your family, for example, and heard their voice in your head since they've died?
Absolutely. I actually have a story to share with the audience. And, I come from a very Christian family. And, when you die, your soul goes to heaven. And I guess it's a straight shot to the clouds. I don't know. But that's how I was raised. And the astroplaning body, in my opinion, now is your soul. It is your spirit. It's the same thing. It's just called something different. And what made me really realize this is when my father was 46, he had a massive heart attack, and they gave him an experimental drug, which they actually use it now pretty regularly, or it was very new to the market, to save his life. And they gave him too much, and he died. And they brought him back, obviously, at the time, but he was dead for a bit of time. And during that time, he left his body. He saw his body on the table. They were working on him. He went through the wall. He saw my mother and my brother in the waiting room. He flew out of the hospital into the dark. He said it felt so good. He's never felt this good in his life. He just felt so free, and he could feel the wind, and he was going through. And then he saw these little lights, almost like runway lights, and he started zeroing in on them. And they were like little balls, like almost like orbs, but they had faces. And he called them cherubs. And then he heard a voice. This is very key. And he said it was like imprinted on his brain. Do you want to live or do you want to die? And he was like, I'm not ready yet. I still have things to do. He wasn't afraid. He was just like, I'm not ready yet. And he said, when he said that, he said, I wish I hadn't said that, because he felt so awful. They jolted him back. He came back into his body, and he was like, oh, but what a gift for him to share that story. Because my father, I believe my father, he did not make that up. And he always told me, he said, never be afraid to die. And when he did actually die 20 years later, he had another heart attack and he died instantly. I knew he was okay. He wasn't afraid. But it did make me look at things a little bit different, after that story. And he was interviewed by a lot of hospitals and professionals after that. People wanted to hear his story because he was clinically, dead, so they want to know what you experience. And he wasn't hallucinating, because he actually could see things outside of that room. He could look down on his body, but then he saw things outside of the room in the hallway that he wouldn't have known.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Yeah, and Michael Newton talks a lot about that. It's quite common that people see white light and they go through a tunnel and they appear to a council, and there's like this review process, and you get to look back at your life and all of these things. And he talks a lot about that. And the Netflix series, Surviving Death, episode 1, near-death experience, and then the children who reincarnate. Are very interesting episodes to watch if you ever get time on a Netflix series to watch that. I highly recommend some of that as well to watch about this subject matter. It's very interesting.
Yep,
Yeah.
we're getting. It says, "Are you aware of many noises happening during your speaking right now?" That's Allison Van Kuren. Allison, are you there? What kind of noises are people talking? Because it's completely silent here. We'll see if she pops back up.
I'm near a reception. I'm near a reception area too, so I'm trying to mute my button when someone walks in to go to the reception at the
Oh, I
hotel.
think we're hearing. It's clicking. Is it? Could it? I don't know. Is there? I don't know. I don't know. Thank you. We're gonna try and figure this out as we go. I hope it's not.
Oh, good.
We're just gonna say it's a spirit. It's clicking. Hmm, I don't know. I don't think it's me. Shake around.
Shake around.
It's you.
Is me.
Yeah.
I have that
Is there
effect on.
stuff? I know. Is there something on your shaking on your?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, I'll take my watch off in case it's hitting the table. But
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We're gonna figure out. Thank you so much. I just do we have a good sound? It's not at all the time, so it seems spirit like. That's it. We have a lot of people that want to say hello. We have a I just want to pop some of these up because you know you have so many friends that want to see you that miss you. I
it
don't
could
know who
it,
this is, but I'm just gonna pop them through. Ashley.
it could be my stomach. I haven't had breakfast yet.
I know. I know. We got okay, Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Um, oh, Kimberly Bear. Yep, we got hi, Allison.
Hey.
Evans, Mary. Mary Evans. Okay, noises. We got that one. Hold on. Let's see. We got more. Uh,
Yeah, it's really
I don't
interesting
know.
too, V, about your dad. You know.
Oh, Emma. All right, I'll get the rest of them in a minute. We'll keep looking at them.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, my dad. That story was so
Incredible.
interesting, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But how wonderful for him to have that knowledge before he passed. It must have taken a lot of fear away for him. You know. Yeah.
Sure, sure. And then, I mean, when my mom passed away recently, I knew, for those of you who don't know, Reese and I are very close, and my mother adored Reese, like most of you do,
Mm.
and I knew that she would immediately go to him to give me some messages. That would validate that she was
Yeah.
with us, and she most certainly did. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to have you in my life to be able to channel my mom because that was a tough one.
Well, even tougher for me because I know how much she meant to all of us. You know.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard because you have to be non-judgmental and you have to,
Mm.
come from a space of, I know this lady, I know
Yeah.
her well, and
Well.
you know,
Yeah.
and I need
Mm.
something else that I don't know for you to
Yeah.
believe, and that's the tricky part,
And you
Um,
did. You knew how she
yeah,
passed. You knew
yeah,
everything that there's nobody would
mm.
have known, other than me because I
Well,
found her. So
yeah,
yeah,
I thank her though because
mm,
she's just so special, special
yeah.
lady.
So
Mm.
we are going to now that we've decided. Now we know what a psychic is and a medium is. So I want you to tell our audience, how do you communicate with spirit? And you went
Yeah,
over a few of these things, but maybe we can
yeah.
we can kind of go through the list, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it involves having some structure, and over the years, um, um, I came up with a concept called the 4 Ps, and it's broken down into 4 sections where you have to at first identify a person with physicality, and it's generally a relationship and cause of death. So no one can see my mind working, but in my mind, I'm asking thoughts because it's all telepathic. So I'm
Yeah.
asking thoughts to a spirit, and I'm saying, can you show me your relationship to me and my mind? Can you maybe tell me with your voice in my head how what is your relationship or how you died, so that the recipient would go, I know who you are, right? And then there's personality, which comes second. So in this four-step category, there's profession, profession, or possession. So three P's there within that second step. Something they left behind, maybe what they did for a living, yeah, and what were they like as a personality. And then the third step is purpose of communication. They just don't come to say hello, you know. A lot of people say that, but I feel like there has to be more than that. So um, maybe they come to say they love you. Maybe they come to say they're sorry. Maybe they come to say, I've got something unfinished that has to be done. Or I'm aware of this. Or in recent times, I was with you, you know. And then the last step is, you know, in my mediumship anyway, which I try to visually try and leave with a person, is, you know, what's happened since they've died that they know about. Because the main thing I think that people want in a reading is, are they still with me? And how do we continue? You know, how do we continue? And maybe like a sign or in recent times, and often who they may have met when they died, you know. I love saying that, you know, when they died, they met their life partner, their soulmate. They met their mum and dad, you know, or they're there with Uncle Bob, you know. Um, and so that's the process. But in my mind, people
Yeah.
can't see me working, but I'm kind of in thought saying, show me how you died, show me your relationship,
Yeah.
even influence some part of me on my body. What area of my body were you suffering from? So I feel it, and then I can talk about it. And I'm asking hundreds of thoughts that no one can see. On average, 200 to 400 thoughts at least during a normal link, and I'm waiting for that information to come back, and then I'm using all of my clairs to try and perceive this information. So there's a lot going on. You know, we need the clairs to be psychic, you know, a sense or feeling or a knowing, but we also need it to do the mediumship as well.
So, do we want to go through them?
Yeah, sure, yeah,
Clairvoyant, we'll go through them and you can explain them.
yeah.
I think your mic is hitting your button.
Okay,
Is
okay.
that happening?
I'll hold it out like this, yeah? I'll hold it out.
Well,
Is
we'll
that better?
see.
Yeah,
We're going, no,
yeah.
no,
Okay.
it didn't fix it. All right. Anyway, all right.
It must
Continue.
be. It must be spirit. I'm not on my. I'm not on my own.
This is so strange. It's definitely not from here. No, there's
Yeah.
nothing happening here. Cause see, look.
Yep. All right. So with
Mm,
the clairvoyant is the ability to see, and it's not. Sometimes it's you can see it in your with the naked eye. It's generally a peripheral vision, though. If you do see that, you know,
really?
you might be in your room and you or in the house somewhere, and you might see in the see someone, and you quickly look to turn to see them, and then they disappear. So it can be very opaque. It can be very quick, a sudden glimpse of them with clairvoyant ability. But clairvoyant is also in your third eye. So it's even with your eyes closed, you can see a person standing there, even when they're not physically there.
Now,
Um,
do you mean like an image in your
yeah,
brain, or does
yeah,
it
yeah,
look like they're fully standing in front of
yeah. Both. So you can see them kind of in the audience or
you?
in front of you.
Mm.
When you close your eyes, you can still see them there. It's an impression in your mind.
Yeah,
Um, it can look like a photograph
yeah,
sometimes. Sometimes I get an impression of that and can talk about a photograph, and the recipient can go, well, that's true. That's what they look like, you know.
yeah.
Um, or it can be as if it's like an 8 millimeter film in my left eye. When my eyes shut, I can actually see a whole story unfolding or a moment in time, and it's like a film, and it's in that aspect. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's
Sure is.
true. Yeah.
It's,
No, it's true. Like I get here and there, but you can just
Well,
all day long.
even 10 years later, it still blows my mind that
Mm.
this can happen to us, and we have this ability if we work with it and develop it. We all can do this. I couldn't do this in the beginning. I learned how to be a medium, So
Well, I will say, because I asked you, when you're here at the house, or like I know one time you and Brisa were here, you were in the States, and I was up at the barn and I saw this guy walking around in the back, and I look, and he wasn't there, and I was a little concerned because we don't want people on the property that we don't know. But I remember describing him, and because Brisa was like, "Oh, what did he look like?" And I described him, and she goes, "Oh, that's my friend, whatever. He passed away, but he knew I was going to be here, so he wanted to show himself to you or
yeah,
whatever." And
yeah.
she described him, and I'm like, "That was absolutely him." But normally, I don't think I would have seen that. I almost feel like your energy kind of brought that or something. I don't know. It was weird.
Well,
I
you
don't
know,
know. What
this
do
is
I know?
this happens. This
Yeah.
happens a lot with people. This happens a lot with people, even on their near-death experience. Lots of nurses and doctors will say that the recipient will say, the person in the hospital bed will say, I keep seeing my dad, or I just saw my grandparents, and um, they say at least 8 days before the soul's going to go. That these kinds of things are quite prevalent and very much documented, you know. But we see it in our dreams. We see them in our dreams. So going back to what happens to when we die for a second, I believe if you're asleep and you dream of a loved one, you're actually with them temporarily. And so I feel like we're temporarily in the spirit world every time we go to sleep for a while. And I think how beautiful is that, knowing that we have that comfort, knowing that we can come back from that and go to that, and that's okay. And so the death process should see us as a transition and not the end of us, but
Mhm.
something beautiful, another dimension of where we go to, and it's nothing to be scared about. And you can go anywhere in the universe with your loved ones in a dream state. How wonderful could that be? You know.
What's your feeling on 3 a.m.?
Well, I think that's the time when most people are having that time. I call it La La Land. Where,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it should be Wow 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 Land. Because
Yeah.
uh,
No, because it's the time when people say that it's when it's the best time to communicate with spirit. Why
yeah.
why would that be?
Well, it's because our mind isn't in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Our soul is free from that for a little while, and it becomes an astral planing body. It's more connected. There's less distortion. It's not three-dimensional. It becomes one-dimensional. You
Mm-hmm.
know, just like the spirit person. Um, and when you're in that dynamics, then it's you're in their world, and it's easy. That's when most people have a contact, or when they first wake up. That's when they kind of feel the presence of spirit, or feel like they've seen a loved one who's died, or whatever. In that time, around that kind of time. So it makes sense, right?
All right, another way to communicate.
Yeah, clairaudient, like I said earlier, it's the ability to hear,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not the voice outside of the body. It's very rare for a medium to actually hear a voice outside of the body. Um, about 9% of mediums have that ability, which means that more than likely they've also got some physical phenomena ability, not just mental mediumship, they've got some physical mediumship ability as well, where they might be able to hear extended voices or indirect voice in the room, or spirit speaking, and communicating that way. Most people and most mediums will hear the voice in the mind, you know. And like I said, they make your voice box vibrate to make the sound of their voice echo in your mind. So if you do hear a loved one who's communicating to you, listen and hear their voice in your mind. They're actually talking to you. You know, you're not crazy. you know, you might think you
Right.
are, but you're not.
Nah.
And you,
All
you
right.
and you don't need to
Go ahead.
talk back. You don't need to talk back either. You just have to
Mm-mm.
think. You can think back because they're telepathic, right? So Thought, you just have to tell them how you feel in thought, and they will know. Yeah.
And
Which is
if it's
amazing.
somebody you don't want to talk to, you just say buzz off.
That's right. You're always in control. You
Yeah,
can always,
buzz
you
off.
can, yeah, you can always will a spirit to go away if it's not
Mhm.
invited. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand that too, which is a great thing that you brought that up. I don't have any problems in my time. Yes, I get people who come and visit sometimes, but it's because I invite that type of energy to be of service and to help other people. But if you ever have feelings of a spirit that you don't want around you, you can always say, I shut down. I don't accept you. I ask you to leave. Please leave me. I invite you to go away, go to the light, and you can will a spirit to go. In most cases, if not, you can go and see a regressionist or hypnotherapist, and they can help you do that. But most people have their power within themselves to will any spirit they don't want to go away. So don't ever fear spirit. You know. Maybe most people should say, "How can I help you? Did you
Right.
live here? Did you
Oh.
live here in the past?
Mhm.
Are you for someone I'm going to meet in a few hours? Are you a loved one? Can I help you?" And you'd be surprised. Um, you know, you might be surprised of why, because often there's a reason.
We
They're
have a
just
lot of we have a lot of blinking lights here at the farm, don't we?
well, especially when I'm there.
Well, Elaine's blinking them a lot now.
Well, there you go.
of, of course.
Yeah.
And you've been here. There's a lot of action here at the farm.
Yeah, and that's a form of communication through,
Mm.
digital format now because technology's advanced and with spirit,
Mm.
they know, right? So
Mhm.
you can use a recorder, have a recorder on, and you might hear voices. You could, if the lights flicker, one for yes, two for no. Is that you, Dad? Is that you, Mum? One for yes, two for no, and they'll tell you if they're there. They'll show it to you in time. You just have to trust,
Mhm.
but don't be scared to ask questions.
All
Yeah.
right, next one.
Clairsent, the ability to feel. So clairsentient is our gut feeling. That's predominantly the most dominant one that people will use. Like I said, most of us will use the ability to see, ability to hear, clairaudient, ability to see clairvoyantly, and then clairsentient, the ability to feel. So you might see it, you might hear it, but you'll use your feeling to trust whether you've heard it or seen it or hear it. You'll always use your gut feeling, the clairsentient ability to, am I trusting what I see? Am I trusting my gut feeling, what I might hear? My clairsentient ability, the ability to feel and trust. That's our driving seat, basically, our gut feelings. You trust your gut feeling, you'll generally make the right decision in most cases.
And sometimes we don't want to trust our gut feeling, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You know,
And then we often say, "Oh, if only I trusted my gut feeling."
yeah, I
We'll even
wish I would have trusted.
uh, my gut
I,
my gut feeling told me I shouldn't have gone there or done that, but
Mhm.
sometimes we also need the lessons to learn too, don't we? Makes us who we become. It's not in the calm who we become, who we are. It's in the storm sometimes. Yeah, yeah. The ability to know, claircognizant, with a Z. um, it's I don't know how I know. I just know, and this is what Edgar Casey talked about. Sometimes when I sat with a client, I just knew. I didn't get a spirit person telling me. My own spirit just knew, and that's where he called it. Focused attention awareness. When we go from our everyday personality self, getting up, pouring a coffee, putting our clothes on, going to work, our robotic self, our personality self, to hang on a minute, this person needs me. How can I help them? How can I serve them? Something just happens with us, to all of
Yeah.
us. And that will vary depending on our environment and our upbringing and our knowledge and our empathy and our sensitivity, you know. So the ability to know. I don't know how I know, I just do, you know.
Just know.
It's like you start a new job and all of a sudden someone says, I've been here for all these years. How do you know just how to do that all of a sudden? I don't know how, I know I just do. And where does it come from, you know?
Mhm.
It comes from our own power and our own ability and a sense of knowing. So don't forget your own spirit power and your own potential of what you can do, which is great. Someone like Edgar Casey, for example, physicists were inspired by him to set up, programs like the CIA have an elite group. Um, scientists like Stephen Schwartz and Russell Targ. I highly recommend you watch some of their work on TED Talks, because these scientists got into Edgar Casey's work and through that developed, Russell Targ was famous for setting up a group of people who could forecast the stock exchange. And they made a multi-million dollar business by having a group of people know when the stocks were going to shift and change and having a knowingness. Stephen Schwartz, for example, helped invent ESP, extrasensory perception and remote viewing, right? Where they could have a person in another part of the world find someone else in another part of the world and even draw on a map where they were located to 100% accuracy, being worlds apart with the ability, I don't know how I know, I just know by shifting my focus. And they created these elite groups, the CIA elite teams and forces, the elite forces can know when they're going to go into a building, how many hostages there are, what room they're on, how many people are in the room before they even go in the building. We have this ability, we all do, and if we train and practice, we can all develop this to infinite possibility. You know. There's a great if some of you as viewers have got Prime, Amazon, you could look up Superhuman, a series as well where they talk about this a lot. It's a great series called Superhuman, and they've got a girl they take to a park, and another girl in a room, and she's able to describe everything that this person sees in the park and even what she touches. And the person in the park, they make her basically stop her thoughts, and then the other person goes blank in the other room, miles apart from each other. It's pretty incredible what we can do. You might know this, Veronica. Sometimes I have these thoughts about my mum, and I can ring her, and she'll say, "I was thinking the same thing," or wanting to call you.
Oh, yeah.
So we have this telepathy, characteristic that's with all of us. It's just different for everyone.
All right, let's see. Let me get the next one here. We were leaving this one up, right?
Yeah. Claire Gustance, right? So that's the ability to taste, the ability to taste.
Yeah.
So sometimes in my mediumship, I might say, I feel like he loved his cigarette, he loved his cigars, or I can taste that he loved mint sticks, or he was into, the white mints, or the hardened, sugar-topped candy, or he liked licorice, all sorts,
So you take, like, if you're doing a reading on somebody, you could taste that.
Yeah, absolutely. Even down to the type of beer they drank, or a type of alcoholic drink, or they like chai latte. They love pizza. Yeah, and I can get the taste and the sense and this, the ability to taste. Yeah.
Did you always have that, or did you develop that over time?
Yeah, it's sometimes it's random, sometimes it's quite strong, and sometimes it's not. For example, if the recipient had their own restaurant and they were a chef, highly likely my clairgustance ability would be very strong, because they work with food a lot. It seems to be quite associated to the person's life a lot. Say, for example, if they're a musician and I can hear music or a song, and they play guitar, I might start playing, Smoke on the Water, Smoke on the Water, dun, dun, dun. I can hear the song in my ear, and I can hear it. And so I talk about it,
Right.
I got better at doing this over 10 years, obviously, with practice and working with people. So that was a big thing, but uh, it varies for every different contact that I do. So it's not always the same. Yeah.
We're getting, I hear people setting up over there. Now we really are hearing noises.
Yeah.
What time is it there?
So it's 10 to 7 in the morning, and there's some people checking out. So
Yeah. Hello. It's
I'll
all right. It's cool.
I'll mute my button.
All right. So we have quite a few people here that are making comments here. So we have we want to know. We were actually planning on talking about the spirit drawing, so this is actually a perfect time to do this. Um, so do you think we're going to be able to share the file or no?
Well, not. I
We'll
can
just
just.
do it old
Yeah,
school.
yeah. I can just show it on my phone if you
Yeah,
like.
this is a low budget operation, so there's no, my crew has not done a very good job this week. All right, yeah. What are we gonna do? Right?
Okay, so you want me to show, like, for example, I did a drawing.
Let's talk about spirit drawings. You had referenced it earlier, that you're an
Yeah,
artist.
absolutely. Yeah. So
Mhm.
basically, I don't get an impression in my third eye of a person's face and
Mm,
draw it from memory or from a psychic memory, the mental state.
mm,
Um, I've come to the conclusion that there's actually two types of the mediumship happening at the same time. So I'm perceiving spirit in my mind, and I'm talking about them, and my hand is automatically drawing someone else. Sometimes it's the same communicator, but sometimes I draw people without knowing, right? I draw someone else who's died, who's with the communicator. So there'll be someone talking through me, and I've drawn someone else who's actually died as well, which
mhm,
means they're not on their own, they're in spirit with this other person. Sometimes that drawing is someone the person doesn't know. So I've I've had people go back as far as third great grandfather with a matching photo to the drawing, and then some people have said that I know who you've talked about who's died, Rhys, but that drawing is actually someone who's alive, and so I've actually the spirits made me draw a loved one who's still alive and who's of concern or they want to acknowledge them at this time during the session. So that just blew my mind because
yeah.
as a scientist from the past, I'm like, what's going on here? What's going on? So I'm talking about a person, and sometimes I draw them because I can do up to 4 drawings in a 1 hour session for a recipient. And
That's
some,
pretty fast.
yeah, yeah. So sometimes
Wow. Okay.
so sometimes the drawing is of the communicator. So if it's someone's, for example, someone's dad, and then sometimes then the other drawings will be about other people, people who are living, other people who've died who are with that person and not
Mhm.
specifically them. So which blows my mind, right? I'm still learning my drawing aspect because I've only been doing it since January this year. I'll be honest though, I wasn't not bad at drawing in my previous life, and did art as a student at school, and so I've always been able to draw. But over the last year, it's been really developing. But I find it fascinating as a scientist myself.
Well, I'd like to share mine really fast because you drew a picture of my dad. Now, he's never met my dad. He has been in my house, but honestly, I didn't there wasn't anything in my house that had the details that this photo had. So he drew a picture of my dad, and I thought it was like, why is he wearing a bow tie? My father didn't wear a bow tie. That's not my dad. Maybe it's somebody else in my family. I don't think that's my dad. So show the picture. Can you show? I'm sorry, we have to do it this way. Okay, so I'm looking at that and I'm like, my dad, nope, no bow tie. Hair, yeah. So this is interesting. I found this photo that I had put up recently. Rhys hasn't been here because of COVID in years, probably 3 years, right? My father is wearing a bow tie. Can you see it? And his hair is parted on the side. And he's got his mouth, right? So I said, "Oh, okay. Now I see it." Because I did. I was like, "My dad never wore bow ties." How about that? Yeah. You want to show
Yeah,
some other ones? I don't know if we can see them.
you see that.
Yeah. So we think what happens is that the spirits show you photos that the loved ones are going to have in their possession to validate what is in your brain, like what you're able to see, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's evidence as well, and that's the scientist.
Yeah.
That's the scientist in me. I thought I started teaching some of my students the artistic aspect of spirit
Mm-hmm.
art, and then I just thought I should be actually doing this myself. And
Yeah.
I kind of wish I did it sooner, to be honest, but it's happening now. And I just thought, well, I'll just do my best and start to draw. When I first started, they were looking a little bit like White Walkers, and I thought, oh, this would only scare people, with my
Yeah.
draw. But it got really refined really quickly, and there's evidence in it, you see. So that's what I love, because I want to be as evidential as possible. And if I can even draw someone who's died for someone, then there's got to be some merit in that for the recipient to
Yeah.
go away and think, well, maybe we don't die, because that's my ultimate goal. I just want people to go away thinking, you know, through their own exploration, maybe we don't die, and give that comfort to people. Um,
Can I ask you a couple of questions just about, it's October, it's Halloween. I just want your
yeah, of course.
opinion on these things. All right. So, what is a ghost?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Who?
you know,
In your opinion, right? This is all your opinion. What is a
yeah.
ghost?
Well, even in Michael Newton's book, they talk about a ghost as a person that would be more earthbound than
Hmm.
astral planing bound. So
So explain that. Can you explain that?
yeah,
Mm.
it'd be a spirit person that's tied to a time and place, um, based on probably its core subconscious in that moment in time and around the cause of death, a great need for why it still stays there. It may have died before its time. It might have died through weird circumstances. The spirit might have a great need to stay, to warn someone, to guide someone, to help someone, um, um, in its subconscious. The subconscious is your soul, basically, uh, and so it would find an attachment to a time and place and space, and would stay, because there's no time in spirit. The spirit doesn't know that 40 years has gone by, because there is no time and space. But its subconscious, its soul, would be thinking, well, I'm still here. I may have died before my time. I wasn't ready to go. It was a surprise to me. I'm staying. I don't want to go yet. I'm not ready to go. I'm here. Or I want to stay to warn people, to guide people, or I wasn't happy to go, and I'm going to stay. You know, and so a spirit can stay and attach itself to a place or a moment in time, but really, at some point, the spirit will leave, because um, it has to. And Michael Newton talks about rover souls, those other souls that will come and help that spirit over time to go back to the spirit world and not be so earthbound, in some way. Um, I'm still learning. I don't have all the answers myself, but
Right.
that's how I interpret it. Um, I feel it's energy. It's a spirit. It's a person, and if you can sense and feel it, you can probably talk to it. So I'm often saying, "What happened? Why are you here? Can I help you?" And if I can, I'll try and help that spirit too. If I feel the energy of it. You know.
Ectoplasm, like in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Remember?
Well, ectoplasm is basically, a spirit starting to materialize. It's starting to take form, where it can be visually seen to some level. It's often a mist. It can be a partial part of the hand or part of the body, but generally it can be a mist-like substance. It's basically using particles in the air, dust, atoms, and molecules, and sun, and sunlight and particles to try and make it itself appear visually. You know,
Hmm.
it's very rare to see a full apparition. It takes a lot of
Hmm.
energy for a spirit to do that. But sometimes people will see a mist and go, "What is that?" But it's actually a spirit trying to take form. Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
these are real.
These are people, yeah, for sure.
All right. Shadow people.
Yeah, I'd say it would be the same.
Mm,
Um, you know, some people have different ideas,
yeah.
but I feel like it's still a spirit. If you imagine, like, this is my scientific brain. It's scientifically proven that we have an auric field that's 3 to 5 meters past our body, which would be all of our thoughts, feelings, and our emotions, and our physical being.
Mhm.
And it resonates around 62 megahertz. It, you know, so imagine that if you're a typical person, you're around 62 megahertz of energy, and it's measured scientifically true. Yeah. Then an Olympian would be around 67 to 70 megahertz if you're a really fit person. But someone who's got cancer, for example, they resonate energy of around 40,
Oh.
megahertz. So it would make sense that if you're a person, a spirit person, and you left your body, you would also vibrate at a frequency of some sort, and you could measure it. They've
Mhm.
got all these machines now that can test and measure that, right?
So you
Um,
think they're operating, in your opinion, at a lower frequency, so they're not able, they're shadowy.
yeah, well,
Like we can't get
yeah, to elaborate
full.
more, yeah, to
Mm,
elaborate a little bit more, they're,
mm,
you know, a sweet grandma who may have had many lives of doing sweet, wonderful things would
mm.
be a good energy, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
someone like Hitler would be
Mm,
vibrating at a lower frequency, right? So
yeah.
I feel like no matter what, it's still spirit. No matter what, it's still
Mm.
spirit, and it's vibrating at its totality of its all of its incarnations. So it's not just the life you just had; it'll be all the lives you may have had up until you're a spirit again. So it's not just the life you just had; it would be all the lives you've had and being a spirit energetically. You know,
Mhm.
so someone, for example, like Mother Teresa, would feel different as a spirit energy around you to someone who might have been like Hitler. You know,
Right.
and so if we feel that energy, then it's different to our own. We're going to fear it and think it's dark. It's dark, you know. So it's not really. It's a spirit, and it's vibrating at its totality of all of its incarnations. So I don't think it's scary or evil. I just feel like it's evolving, like we all are. You know.
So it's no different with people in our human
Yeah.
body, right? We
Yeah. Same
feel
thing.
we feel
Yeah.
the energy. We can feel, I mean, not every, I mean, I think
Yeah.
most people can, but you feel when you meet somebody, you either feel like, oh, this feels really good,
Of
or
course.
oh, I think I need to go now.
Yeah.
It's like that, right?
Absolutely. Like if I have someone who's been in jail and committed crime and murdered people,
Mhm.
I'm gonna to
I'm
work with
out.
that. To It feels different. It feels different to someone who's got a sweet grandma, especially in a
Mhm.
demonstration. Like if I'm on stage and I'm demonstrating, I can definitely feel the energy and the difference between someone who's gone to jail all their life than someone
Mhm.
who's, been a humanitarian and saved thousands of people. It's very different.
Does that energy stay with you, or can you?
The same. I just, I'm here to serve. So I just say, can I help you? What needs to be said? What needs to be done in the time? You know.
Mhm.
Yes, the energy can come days, weeks, or months prior. You know, I think because they're an astral planning body and they can influence your mind, and they say, for example, um, if I've got someone who's lost someone who went to jail and did a bad crime, they might come into my mind 3 months before I actually see the recipient.
Mhm.
Because I think they're so intelligent, they know this. This has actually happened to me quite a lot. I'll use an example in a second, but that person would come into my mind and say, "You're going to meet someone I love in a couple of weeks from now, so I'm going to start trying to influence your mind now to pass on a message that needs to be said."
Mhm.
Um, I was in a meditation. Just to digress for a second, I was in a meditation in the morning, and I had this lovely man come to me, right, and he basically said, "I died on a battleship in 1941." called HMS Defender, right? HMAS Defender. And I died with everyone on board. And my great granddaughter's going to be in the room tonight at your demonstration,
I just got chills.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like, am I making this up? Am I crazy? So I actually got my fiance Breeza to say, can you just Google a ship and see if it's true? You
Yeah.
know, because I was curious, right?
Mm.
And then so I just said to the spirit person, well, if it's true and you come again later, I'll talk about you, right? So all I did was Google. This is the thing. I wish I actually filmed it because it's a great understanding of how spirit intelligence is. 100% intelligent, right? So I basically all I did was find out about the ship. I didn't know his name or anything. He didn't say anything like that. So my partner goes, yes, it's true. So on the night, so that's 10 a.m. in the morning. So on the night at 7 o'clock, I basically got up and said, is there anyone who can understand a man who would have died on a ship? He's a British sailor, you know. And more things came. I said, this man actually saved people on another ship, 10 people, right, on another ship. Then that got sunk, and then gets on another ship, and that got sunk, and he dies on that ship. And so I talk about him getting medals of bravery from testimonies of other sailors that happened after he died. So after he died, he got medals sent to his home for his actions that they didn't know about until later on, which was all true. And I talked about the ship being in a photograph in a gold frame, and it's so big, it's enlarged in the family home, and it's in 5 other people's houses in the family. And this woman put her hand up and said, that's true. And in the end, I actually got his first name and his surname right as well. And this is a guy that came to me at 10 a.m. in the morning, you know, you
That's
know.
unbelievable.
And this happens all the time. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people dismiss this, right? They think I'm making up things, I'm seeing ghosts, maybe I'm going crazy in my mind. But this is spirit, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've witnessed it with you
Yeah,
firsthand. I
yeah,
have
yeah.
experienced just so many things, and so many friends, that always come and visit when
I
you're here. Yeah, you're
I
you're really very gifted.
I
Let's
I was just going to quickly say, for those who are interested in on my YouTube channel, I actually got some videos where I draw a person and I write down everything about them before I go live with the drawing. So I draw the person before I've met them, and write down everything about them, and I've videoed it, and then I go to a demonstration live, and the person in the room can take it, yeah, just to try and prove my case because
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about it, and the scientist in me, I want people to know this. You know, this is real, and it happens to all of us. We're not crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, not at all. So Rhys, right now you are in Thailand because you usually live in the Netherlands. If you're from Australia, today we're in Thailand. Why are we there?
Yes, so I'm doing a retreat here, a mediumship retreat for 5 days, which is just incredible. Um, and I've got a lot of students that have travelled to be here, and we're just working together for 5 days to develop the ability to communicate with spirit. Um, they range from complete novice, never done it before, to people who've been maybe doing it for a while. So it's always mixed groups. And I will be spending time together building the psychic faculty first, which is really cool. We use a lot of extrasensory perception techniques, and I blindfold people so you can trust your own mind. And then I teach people how to communicate with that structure, the 4 Ps that I talked about earlier, and using the clairs to communicate. And which is really lovely to see people after 5 days walking away with never doing this before, being able to do it. You know, it's that quick, honestly. Um, that's why I wrote a book about it.
Let's
Because
see. Let's
I,
see the book. Do you
yeah,
have it? Do you have it with you? That's so great.
yeah,
I have a copy here. I didn't have
yeah,
time to go grab it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah.
And
So in that book,
mhm,
it explains um how well it's how to talk to the dead. It's pretty basic, right? Like it
yeah,
teaches you, that's what it teaches you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all the steps that I took to learn to be a medium. Like I said, I started learning this 10 years ago. I went to a school and I realized they actually teach this stuff and you can learn it. And I learned how to be a medium. Um, I think, obviously with your environment and your upbringing, it has a big bearing too on your ability. But these are 10 steps on how to do it, but it takes a lifetime to master it. I'll just say that. So I don't want everyone to think, well, I can just do it tomorrow. It takes years of practice and to master it, but there's 10 easy steps to learn. But once you've learnt the steps, over your time, you can master the ability to do it. And that's why I've written a book about it and teach it, you know. Um, I have a 10-week course online which follows the book, and people who start from scratch, who've never done it, by the time the course is finished, are able to communicate a dead person. Yeah.
And we actually have some exciting news for the people that are here in the States. We don't have the dates nailed down yet, but we do know that in the summer, Rhys will be here doing a retreat very close to where I live in Mattapoisett. So within the hour of here, he will be here doing a retreat. And we're thinking 5 days, same,
Yes. Yes.
something like that.
Yeah.
So it'll be a similar retreat. Can you kind of give an overview of what a day looks like at your retreat, just so people would have an idea?
Yeah. Well, it's very varied. There's so much in even in a day. But for example, we would meet and basically um, I've got different techniques that involve being creative. So, for example, cutting out images and putting them onto a card and interpreting a card. So, learning how to use tools like oracle cards and reading cards and using imagery to help
Mhm,
people understand and interpreting images,
mhm,
to working with ribbons and being blindfolded and not knowing who's in front of you and trusting what to say. Um, on a psychic level, so being very factual on day-to-day things about people's lives and how to
mhm,
learn how to do a reading and read for a person
mhm,
on everyday life stuff
mhm,
about life and love and careers and hobbies and interests and stuff like that. And then it slowly builds into being able to do mediumistic work and communicating a spirit.
mhm,
One exercise I use is really cool. People take a lottery ticket, and then they get a piece of paper, and I teach them how to write down information that would profile a person. So it's almost like being in the FBI. I teach you how to profile a person who's died, and then I pair you up with a matching ticket, someone you didn't meet, you don't know who it's for, and you just share what you've written down. And it's amazing seeing a student go, "Wow, you know, this is your dead person. I didn't know I was coming to you, but everything I've said about your dead person is true." And it's quite profound. Working with another person, another student, to feel energy around a person. So I teach people to if you think about a loved one who's died, you can actually feel it on a person's body. And I've got a technique where you can actually um, position a person in the family and know the relationship by feeling it on the energy of a spirit on the person's body. Yeah,
Wow.
through thought, which is crazy as
Is
well.
this new? I don't remember this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Uh, and then it slowly goes to being able to be on and to be able to give a person a reading and connect to a person who's died.
Mhm,
We do different things like writing a letter, which is really special. Like to trust enough just to let your hand write a letter, so as if it's a letter from a loved one who's died, which is so beautiful.
oh.
Um, and people read that out to their recipient, and people are just, it's so moving. Uh,
Mhm,
it helps people with grief a lot. This course helps
mhm,
people be able to connect to other people who've died, and that will then connect you to your own people who've died. You know.
mhm.
Um, some people are interested in wanting to connect to their guide. Mediumship is the best way to do that, because if you can connect to um, other people's people who've died, you'll be able to connect to your own guides then and your own people who've died, in the process. So it all ties in. There's lots of fun, there's lots of meditation, there's lots of relaxation, and we're going on trips to temples and stuff. So in America, we'd plan an activity. like if we go to Sudbury area where we're thinking about,
I think it would be perfect, actually. Yeah.
well, the Battle of Lexington and Concord, where the militia took on the English, and the American Revolutionary War all took place in those areas. It's going to be, well, there's going to be lots of spirit energy there for sure. Lincoln came and visited the place. We might go to.
Yeah,
So
it's where we're thinking about going. I've been, so it's a
yeah,
very cool little place. So
yeah,
I think it'll be perfect. So we'll have to figure this out, but we will.
yes, absolutely.
Um,
Thank
so
you.
if you would like to have a conversation with Rhys, you can do that. You can have an online reading. You can have a FaceTime reading similar to this, which I can promise you is, Rhys and I are very close, but we haven't seen each other in probably 3 years because of COVID. We talk all the time. I feel like we haven't not seen each other, right?
Yeah.
So it's a great way to communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people ask,
Mhm.
I want face to face. I prefer face to
Mhm.
face, but I'm doing a lot of work just online at the moment.
Mm.
And to be honest, it's just as good. And if people, I offer a refund if I can't help you in the time, or if it's Wi-Fi is not good, or we can't connect properly. I'm not going to take someone's money if I can't help you. So, for those of you who are ever interested in an online reading, they're just as good. I record it for you as well. And I also do the drawings now anyway in the sessions, so you get those anyway. Even if it's someone you have to go away and maybe find out, or talk to other family, but there'll be someone in the drawing for you to take away with. And it's just as good as if it is in person. So spirit need our minds, not our bodies.
And sometimes too, and this has happened to me several times, not just with Reese, but with other mediums. So, they'll say something and it doesn't resonate with you at the time, but then when you go home, something will pop up later, and you'll go, "Oh my God, that was exactly what he said."
Yeah. Um,
So you just have to be open and be patient, because I believe that it's real, 100%.
yeah.
There's no
Well,
question.
thank you, Ray. That's really sweet to say. I
Mm.
kind of want people. I don't want people to think I'm like a fortune teller, because
No,
I don't do that.
no.
But I try and stay with spirit, and I try and get what does spirit see for you, and how do they see your life and the challenges you're facing, and
Mm.
what's going on, and when I'm connected to spirit, there's something there called clear vision, where they might make me say something that you don't even know about yet, that happens
Mhm.
later,
Yeah.
and it does come true. But it's only when I'm with the spirit person, so it's not through my own power or my own focused attention awareness or my own psychic ability. It's more through the mediumistic ability, where the spirit is trying to say they're in your life and what's happening. And you know, I can't guarantee signs and symbols. It's important to know, but I'll try. I'll do my
Mhm.
best. But generally, the spirit will say what they see for you, what's happening right now, and who they're with when they died. That's quite common in my work. So
And sometimes too, you don't always know the story, right? So a spirit could show you a teddy bear, and you don't know the backstory, the relevance of that teddy bear to the client,
yep,
right?
that's absolutely, yeah. I
So,
I had an example where
mm,
one lady, I had, it was called Mouse Bear. I kept seeing half a teddy of a mouse and half a teddy of a bear.
so
Um,
odd. I know
the
sometimes you might like not want to say some of the things that you say.
And they've been sewn together. So two halves of two toys been sewn together, right? And I
Okay.
went, and for 15 minutes in my mind, I thought, I don't know what this is, so I just have to describe it. So I said to this lady, "Do you understand mouse bear? It's two halves of two toys, cut in half, but sewn together. So half a mouse and half a teddy bear,
Yeah.
sewn together, two different body parts." And she goes, "Oh my goodness, are you talking about mouse bear?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, yeah, this is true. What is this?"
What is this?
And she
I mean,
goes, "Well,"
that's not evidence. Nothing is.
my uncle who you're talking about,
Yeah.
we used to cut toys in half and sew them together and switch their bodies. and we would hit them around the house with tennis rackets, and that's my favorite memory of my uncle. And you've just talked about Mouse
Oh,
Bear, and Mouse Bear was my favorite.
oh, that's a cool story.
So it made no sense to me, right? I'm like,
Right.
what is this, But
Exactly.
in my mediumship, I'll just say this: I'll only regret what I don't say. So if I don't
Mhm.
say it, I'll regret it. And sometimes the evidence, the recipient can come to a conclusion of what the spirit's trying to say. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, my friend, you have a retreat. You have people waiting for you. We are an hour and 15, which isn't too bad for us because we could do this for 3. Um, RhysWynnDavies.com. What will we find there?
Yeah, just my website. I've got my photo gallery there if you want to check out some of the drawings. There's also a
Mhm.
YouTube channel there as well if you want to check out some of the recordings, which I highly
Mhm.
recommend. They're a lot of fun and I really love them, and I can't
Mhm.
wait to do more of them. You can also get on my calendar and look at a time that's free in any time zone around the world and book a session. And like I said, if I can't help you, I'm not going to take your money. Yeah. So I hope you can come and have a session with me sometime. I'd love to try and help you as best as I can.
And the book, can they get the book?
Oh yes,
Uh,
and yes,
if
and you
you,
can also order the
hey, I
book.
know, I'm sitting here peddling your book. Yeah.
You can get the book online there, and I also have mediumship training cards. So
Mhm.
there's 450 questions on here, and my 4-step process on how to communicate.
Mhm.
So if you are interested, this and the book as a combo deal is more cheaper. But there's 450 questions in this deck of cards to actually ask spirit to get information to help you profile a person who's died. So these are really cool, and they won an award recently in the Carter Foundation, the International Tarot Card Foundation, awarded us with these cards, which is a real honor. And you can get them online. We don't sell them on Amazon at its time or other shops and stuff because they take 70% of royalties. Um, so we're just sticking with selling them online first for a while before we go to Amazon. So if you do want one, go to the website. Yeah.
Sounds perfect. When you leave here, are you going to Australia?
Yes, I'm going to be there for 3 months. I'm excited to see
Mhm.
family. My family haven't seen my newborn daughter yet.
So
She's 6 months
adorable.
old. So we're really excited. And I've got 6 big public shows to do and some workshops there too. So I will be working when I'm there and doing readings online every day of the week while I'm there too. So I'll be doing it from Australia instead of in the Netherlands.
Message me when you get there,
Will do.
and we'll try to get this retreat in motion because we have a
Sounds
lot
great.
of we have a lot of people that want to see you. So let's do that.
Yes, I just keep seeing a little question. It's from Alex. She goes, "When our bodies go, do our energies go on?" And the answer is yes. And the character and everything about them would still be available. And yes, they do evolve over time. Just to answer that quick question, constantly evolve, and they'll be in a sphere of like-minded people in the spirit world, and they can share minds. And if they evolve and grow, then they'll go to another sphere that's less dense. Um, in their evolution. So the spirit continues and never dies, and the energy of them, so we can communicate. So great question, Alex. Yeah,
We love Alex.
yeah,
He's another V Talks guest.
it's a
So
great question. Yeah,
yes. All right. Uh, when the sun comes up and the rain clears, take a few pictures and put them in the comment section.
oh,
All right.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
love to Brisa and the girls.
Thank you so much.
And have a wonderful time in Thailand. And we'll
Thank
catch
you.
up when you get back to Australia. Okay, my friend?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, V, and for having me on your show, and thanks for
So
everyone
great.
for watching. Thank you. Take
So
care,
great
everyone.
seeing you. You're such a great person. All righty. Bye,
Like you
honey.
too. Bye. Take care. See you all. Bye bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to the V Talks podcast with Rhys Wynn Davies, psychic medium. If you would like to have a reading with Rhys, buy his book or his training cards, please go to rhyswyndavies.com and all the information is there. It doesn't matter where he is; he'll squeeze the readings in. The times might be a little off, but he'll make time for you. All right. So I'm going to sign off. We're a little bit late. So I want everybody to have a good night, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.